Hello, good morning, guys. Today I want to discuss with you some questions which is asked that Adobe screening test. I get first question is array generator. So let's now first discuss what's the question and what's demand of question. Now question is said that we have a array given and we given two integers L and R which is defined a range and we have to generate new array new b array which having a some condition that element of array b is in between range L to R and condition and second condition is that array current ith element of array b subtract the difference of ith element of array a and b is less than next element of next difference element of array b and element of array b and array a for all i's and our third condition is that my current element my ith element of array b is less than equal to next element of next element of that array b. So okay, and here I have also one condition that I have to return the lexicographically smallest one possible. I have to generate a permutation or station and return lexicographically smallest one. Okay, fine. So let's look into some example. Here, suppose our array contains some elements 1, 2, 1, 2, and L is 1 and R. So my new array of B is this 1, 3, 3, and 5. So let's discuss here. It's follow the condition. Each element of array B is in range in between range of L or R. Yes. Okay. First condition is satisfied. Second condition is say what the ith element of I ith element of array of I is less than to next current just next element of that ith element I plus one element. So difference. So difference of 3 minus 2 is 1 and difference of 1 minus 1 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So here 0 is less than 1. Yeah, it's fine. And 1 is less than 2. Yes, it's fine. And 1 is less than by 3. Yes, it also satisfies second condition. And my third condition is that my ith element is less than equal to my next element, just next element. Okay, 1 is less than 3, 3 is less than equal to 3, and 3 is less than 5. Okay, it's all satisfied. Okay, so I just write a code for it, but first first discuss about what I write, and it is clear some test cases, but it is not able to pass all test cases at the time of test case. But I shared with you what a mistake I do. I do here that I simply generate a first element of my array. I just simply I do here that if my first element of is array is greater than and equal to L. If my current first element is greater than and equal to L, then I put my first element is array of I. I do a mistake at here. I have to do my first element is L, only L. My first element is only equal to L because I have to provide lexicographically smallest one permutation possible T. That's the mistake I did at here. So next what I did next is I generated next all elements. How I generate it? First I check if my ith element is less than or its previous element or not. If it is less than my previous element, then I increment my left range. I increment my left range with difference of it. But what's the difference of it? Increment it, and after it I generate a new element of new ith element of B array by adding a L into ith element of array A. It's clear. And here I am checking that my difference. I am checking second condition here. Here I am checking what? I am checking second condition, that ith element, difference of ith element of B array and A array is less than or equal to. If it is less than and equal to the previous element, difference of previous element of array B and array I, then what I have to do? I- What's the difference? What's the difference? If the difference is greater than or equal to 1, then I just add that amount in it. I just add that amount in my left range, and also in my ith element of B array. Also, I did the same thing, that I add the difference. How much difference is it? I add it. Else, if it is 0, if the B difference is 0, suppose B of I and A of I's difference is equal to previous element, difference of previous element of bth array and array ith array of B element and ith element of array element. So I just simply add. I just simply increment my left range and current element by 1 only. And after it, here I did one more mistake, that here I don't need to check again that it has bth element is greater than R or not. This thing I also done at in this loop also. So I did also one thing wrong here. So I am just checking again, for checking that each element is in within a range of L to R. I just simply do, if it is found that my element is greater than R, I simply return it -1, else I return the my list of new array. This is the thing. And as we now go on to the next question, my next question is bingo. In bingo, it says that I have a matrix. I have a matrix of n into m matrix. Hmm? And it matrix contain n into m elements from within a range from 1 to n into m range. From 1 to from 1 to n into m range. In in what order? In order of this. Suppose it's given in the matrix. Okay. And what we have to do? We have an array. Suppose the numbers are call out. Suppose what the number are call out from the array of all the number from in between 1 to n into m, in that order. In that order, then we just mark cross it out, cross that number in our matrix. In our matrix, in our grid, we just cross that element. And we have to return that first element at what? At that element. At that first element, we just simply mark all elements of either row or either a column. We just mark completely at what element. We have to just return first element. Okay. And we have to say just bingo. Okay. So just simply explain what is it saying. Suppose our first 5 is come out from the array, then what we have to do? We just mark 5, and after 4 is come, then we mark 5. 4 8 is come, we mark 8. 7 is come, we mark 7. 6 is come, we mark 6. 6 here. After that 6, 1 is come. Here when we mark 1, we see that a middle column is get completely marked, and we said now bingo. So we return that element at the element 1. We just completely mark our first column. We have to do this. So in doing this, we have some complications. But what is this? We have to mark each element in a grid, in a matrix. So to mark each element in a matrix, we have to find the position of matrix first, and we have to mark it. And to find a matrix, we have to do something searching here. So we have some order of searching. So suppose if we traverse all the elements in a matrix, then and find its coordinate and mark it. And this is not this is not given that it is in sorted matrix. So we don't use here binary search. So now what we have to use here, we use some type of hashing here. We use hashing technique. That means we map coordinate of each element. First we traverse over the matrix and map its coordinate. Map of each element with its. Map the coordinate of 5. What's the coordinate of 5 is? Coordinate of 5 is 3 comma 2. Coordinate of 5 is 3 comma 2. Then we marked it with 5. Coordinate of 9, we marked the coordinate of 9 with it. So okay, so let's so here I use unordered map. I use unordered map to mark this. So let's discuss what I did at here. Suppose I have a matrix of this and it is a 5. So I have to just I am taking a map and map the 5 with what its axis. But what's the axis is it? 3 comma 3 comma 2. So I marked it with 3 comma 2 with a pair of matrix. So at that time of test, I don't get a other approach to do it efficiently. So I used the unordered map for it. But okay, now this is approach is sufficient here. But now we have to check that is it row row is complete or not, column is complete or not. So how we did it? So we take another two arrays. So we take what? Another two arrays. Hmm? We take another two arrays of size of column and rows, number of columns and number of rows. So this array is for number of rows, and this array is for number of column. Okay, it is clear. So we have this. Now let's look into the example and try to do some dry run here. Okay, so we have 5 here and we mark it 5. Coordinate of 5. Okay, we marked it and just simply add its code, its respectively row mac row element is by 1 and its column element by 1. Next element is 4. 4 location is 2 comma 1. Now we marked it and just update it by 1 and this 1. After it, what is the number 8? Location of 8 is this. We marked it, this location. Okay. And just update the its corresponding row and column. And after it 7, we mark 7. Now we update our column by 1 is 2. And I update here is also, it's become also 2. Now after it's 7, it's get 6. 6 is in middle. So I update in its corresponding row and column correspondingly. Okay. Now when 1 is come, see here what I did. When 1 is here, I marked this. Okay. And I update its respectively column and its respective rows. Okay. When I updating each column and row, after updating, I just check that if my column is equal to number of column or if my row is equal to number of rows. If it is true, then I simply return that element. That I simply return what? Array element जो element है, current element I simply return it. This is the simple approach. Okay, let's go to the code and look into this, what I did, what I messed up, what I messed the things at here. So there is a function that where I previously I getting a 2D matrix here, the vector of vector int here. I am getting 2D matrix here, but I changed it with unordered map. This is the I'm doing mistake at here. Firstly, I do the approach is that here that I first create a map and I mark its all uh, corresponding axis coordinates I and j with its element corresponding element, but it fails at some cases. So I just go into the code and change the type of function, and I just send unordered map here. But but first look into the code. After that, we just look into the new approach. So we create in two rows and one row, two new array, row and column. Row is of size of number of rows and column is size of number of column we have. And after that, we just iterate over the list of array which is pulling out the number. So I am taking a coordinate out from using keys here from the unordered map and just mark its corresponding row and its corresponding column. Update its, and after updating I am checking that if row is equal to number of rows and column is equal to number of column. If it is, then I simply return array of I, and else I return it -1. Okay, this portion is doing work well, but here one more approach I have that I want to share this. Okay, what's the approach? My approach is that suppose I am given that I have only maximum 10 to the power 6 elements in my matrix. My matrix is less than and equal to n into m. That means I have maximum 10 to the power 6 elements. So what I have to do? Suppose I have this this matrix 3 into 3 matrix. Suppose I have this 3 into 3 matrix where it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So, okay, so if we have to go to 5, what's the coordinate of 5? Coordinate of 5 is what? 1 comma 1 comma 1, 1 comma 1. If we using zero based indexing, then its coordinate is 1 comma 1. And we simply say that is it equal to I times number of element in a row, I times number of element in a row. Hmm, that means number of columns, I into number of column, I into number of column, plus what? Plus j. I did it. So I is what? 1, and column is number of column is here is 3. Okay, 3 plus j is 1. Okay, I did it 1 plus 1 and I get it 4. So I simply say that put this all of thing in array 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So coordinate of 5 is 4 using at zero based indexing 0, 1, 2 and 3. So here are logic that if we take a new array, if we suppose what's the function we have? We have this function and we have this function, okay? And we actually we have this function. But the function we have integer, suppose get in number is the our function. Then its coming is vector of matrix. Vector of what? Vector of int. Mat and what I next thing is vector of array. This is our actual function. So what we did at here, we just take a new array, but we take initially we take n is the number of rows. N is what? Number of rows is what? Mat dot size. And number of column is, I am representing number of column is with by m, and number of column is mat of at 0 dot size. Then so I just create a vector, new vector of size int, and giving a suppose I'm marked is with mark of size. What is the size of this? N into m comma y, all elements is 0 in is previously. It's fine, because I have maximum element is n into m, so I am taking a new matrix which having n into m elements. Okay, so I am traversing over the my matrix, which is for I, and I equal to I less than n plus or plus plus. So I just here update its value. So how I update mark at what? Mac at j, I and j is with what? Is with what's the value of I into n, I into n. Oh, sorry. I not I into n, not I into m. Number of columns we have. I into m plus what? Plus j. We do I plus j. We update our this. Fine. Okay. Now after it did the same thing. But add to array dot size. Hmm? Clear? So I am taking first element from it. But the first element is array of I, and the coordinate of array of I is what? Is this? But here are problem that how we mark its corresponding row and its corresponding column. How we did it? So we have to extract that value from it. So how I get it? I and its column and its yes. So let's try to do it. Um, we are taking two new variable L and suppose L and R. Yeah, or we just say it R and C for column. So how we extract it? We just doing a thing that here what we did it at here. We I times M plus J. We did that here. So simply what I did. Uh, Now I R is what? R is what? Is what is X mod M. X mod M is C, and R is X divided by M. that, that that's how we extract our coordinates of element and mark it out. So row of O plus plus and column plus plus. That's how. And if now checking if row at n is equal to n, or column of col is equal to m or not. If it is, then simply return what? Array of I. Hmm? Oh, so see, it's R, it's I. Else, if it is not, then what we have to do in the last, we have to just simply return minus one, R, minus 1. Full Z. Just, it is simple as it is. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. What's the next question? Is it? My next question is, finding integers. Oh, it's also a very interesting question, that there is a new assignment for each. Here we have to do what? We have an array. We have given an array and given a element k, and we have to find kth largest element. We have to find kth largest element with a for each I. For first I element. For we have to find first. What we have to do, we have to find kth greatest element for first ith element, I elements के लिए, first I elements के लिए, for first elements where I is ranging from k to n. hmm? Suppose we have an array which contain 4 2 1 3 and k is 2, so we have to find kth element, k second largest element for each I element. Hmm? And I is going from k to n, and n is 4, so 4 to, so in this range my second largest element is what? First is 4 and after second is 2, and when we push this 1 is in it, then my second largest element is also same as 2, but when we push 3, my second largest element is what? 4 3 2 and 1. Now this is the my answer. So okay, here I am facing very, it's a very good question. So let's look into the whiteboard. Okay, but what's the thing we have? We have to find kth largest element. Suppose we have this 4 2 1 and 3, and we have to do some kind of sorting technique, but we have not sort the array again and again. It goes into n square of log n square, something type of, it's a time limit exceed. We have to think about something, some like a heap kind structure. So we use here heap type structure. So here I am using map. So I first push to k element. First I push k element in my map. So my map is already store elements in sorting order, so it is store 2 and after it 4. So when I push first k element in my map, in my heap, so my first element is my kth largest element, my first element is my kth largest element. So I just take an element x which is storing my kth largest element currently is 2, and pushing that 2 into my list of vector. Okay, fine. Now I am pushing 1. When I am pushing new element, each element, I am checking that my current element is greater than or less than. Is if is it greater than or less than my kth largest element? If it is less than, then nothing issue, just it's go go push it down. Okay, but when it is greater than, when I have to push 3 in my map, then I am checking that my element is greater than my kth element. Okay, kth largest element. Okay, then that means it is doing what? 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Okay, so what I have to do? I simply, what I have to do? May I swap my x, x with current element? May I swap with my x with current element or not? What I have to do? No, I don't swap it at here. I'm not swapping x with the 2. I am just first I am pushing my second element into it, my greater element into my map. Okay, after that I have to find. Now again, in that list of map, I have to find my ith element, kth greatest element. So for it I have to traverse. For it I have to traverse in my list. So I have to search. There are lots of searching technique. So what I use to search? I use here normal search, linear search. No, if I use linear search, then it also goes into n square time. It fails our code. Okay, it's not doing. So here is a internal function is available, that its find function is available, and it, as we look into that, it store in store map store element in sorted way. So we just find what we find. We find our kth greatest element, and now our kth greatest element is what? 2. So just find it, and it return you the position iterator of it, kth greatest element. And now what we have to do? We have to just update our iterator by 1, and it pointing to the our kth greatest element. Now it is x. Now x is pointing to what? It is pointing to 3. Let's take a look at one another example. Suppose we have 4, 2, 1, and after it 5, and after it 3. So what's the order is it? It is score 4, 1, and x is here is 2, and it's printing 2. After when 1 is pushing, 1 is here and printing 2. And when it's getting 5, so it push 5 here, and update x is with, x is updated with 4 and printing 4 here. Now when 3 is coming, okay, my 3 is smaller than this 4. Okay, no problem. I just simply push it into it, and 4 is printing it out. But if I having a element 6 in our list, then what we have to do? We just push 6, and now find the position of current kth element. Current kth element is this, and push it to the right side. This, and update our x with 5, and now simply push it into it. This is the simple approach. Now let's talk about the time complexity of it. Okay, so what's the time complexity of it? To insert element in our map, to insert element in our map, it is log n. Log n time complexity. And how many elements we have to insert it? N elements. So it takes n log n time. Okay, and what we have to do? What we have to do when we inserting each element? In worst case, we have to search. We have to search, and search is done in log n time. Search is done in log n time. So it's time log n also. So what's the time complexity is? N times log of square, log square of n time is the time complexity of doing operation. So let's now go into and is looking the code. So what's the code is it? I create a map of intent int, and I just push first k element in it, and first element beginning first element of that map is my kth largest element. So I just simply push it that element into my list of result, and after it I take a new compare variable is x and mark it with my first kth my kth largest element. Okay, and after it I just pushing each element into my map to the until it, and compare if my current element is greater than x, then I just find it the position of my first greater element, find the position of my current kth largest element and update it by 1 towards the right side and mark it again, and in the last I just simply push that x into my list, and finally I just return my. At first time I just did the linear search here, and in linear search I am facing that my time limit is that exit. So after that I here use this function map find function. It's okay with it. Thank you for bye bye tata, and we will look to another session next time. Bye.